WWE have produced about, 8,000 pay-per-views over the years. I'm not going to bother checking that, but it sounds right, and as anyone who has seen more than a handful of the company's order-only events knows, they can really be anything from epic successes to dismal failures and everything in between. Because there have been so many and time is cruel to the memory, many really good ones have been somewhat forgotten. They're just sitting there on the WWE network right now, waiting to be watched. What are you waiting for? Oh, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 underrated WWE pay-per-views that deserve a rewatch. Join us. Number 10, No Mercy 2006. During the initial brand split era, SmackDown were often shortchanged in the top-line talent department, but that didn't stop them putting on routinely entertaining pay-per-views. One of the best was 2006 No Mercy, a top-to-bottom great show that had no real negatives. Well, almost. It kicked off strong with hometown boys Matt Hardy and Gregory Helms having a cracker, followed by a shockingly good tag title match between Paul London and Brian Kendrick and Casey James and Idol, hey, isn't that Damian Sandow? Stevens. MVP made his long-awaited in-ring debut, while another promising blue brand prospect, Ken Kennedy, had a long and competitive match with The Undertaker. The blood feud between Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero spilled all over the arena in their Falls Count Anywhere match, before the luckless William Regal got put into a bonus match against a returning Chris Benoit. It was excellent, as you would expect. The show ended on a high too, with King Booker's World Heavyweight title defense over Bobby Lashley, Finlay and Batista in an all-action affair. It looked so-so on paper, but No Mercy 2006 turned out to be a belter. Number 9, Backlash 1999. While WrestleMania 15 was, in all honesty, a bit of a mess, WWE got it right with the next month's Backlash. The quality was immediately upped thanks to the return of Jim Ross to the commentary table. And the good thing about this show was its variation and how it steadily built and built to its main event. The first bout on the bill was the Brood taking on the Ministry of Darkness in a 6-man scrap, which was decent. Hardcore hijinks followed, courtesy of Al Snow and Mr. Smiles Bob Holly, as they had a sprawling brawl filled with nasty bumps. The Godfather's Intercontinental title defense against Goldust was shortened to the point, while the New Age Outlaws' victory over Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett was tag team formula fun to a T. The balmy and brutal boiler room brawl between Mankind and Big Show should get more loved, and long matches between X-Pac and Triple H and Ken Shamrock and The Undertaker are nothing to sniff at. Saving the best for last, Stone Cold Steve Austin retained his WWE title over The Rock in their usual great match, featuring all the overbooking and sports entertainment absurdity that helped define the Attitude Era. Number 8, Judgment Day 2005. Judgment Day 2005 was another SmackDown affair that looked a little on the weak side on paper, but turned out to be very enjoyable indeed. In the main event, John Cena retained his WWE title against JBL in a brutal and bloody I Quit match. The first real test for Cena since winning the big one, he put it all on the line to deliver a worthy show closer and start his reign on a high note. In the other major match, former WWE Tag Team Champion partners turned enemies Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero clashed in a heated and compelling outing that was markedly different from their previous meetings. In another grudge match, Booker T got a victory over Kurt Angle, who had been targeting Booker's wife Charmel for weeks with some, rather lewd behavior. A typically decent bout here from two pros. Elsewhere, new tag team champions Eminem beat Charlie Hart and Hardcore Holly in a lively opener, and Paul London eked out a cruiserweight title defense against the ever-dependable Chavo Guerrero. There's not much to see with Big Show versus Carlito or Orlando Jordan defending the United States title against Heidenreich, but they are brief interludes and don't do enough damage to drag the show down. Number 7, Vengeance 2005. It took a little while to truly get going, but once it got going, Vengeance 2005 turned into one hell of a pay-per-view. And it continued a hot streak that had also seen the aforementioned Judgment Day as well as ECW One Night Stand go down within a month-long period. There were 3 blockbuster matches on offer, starting with Shawn Michaels taking on Kurt Angle in a WrestleMania 21 rematch. Another classic, the sequel was likewise stuffed with excellent wrestling and nail-biting near falls, ending when the Heartbreak Kid hit a mid-air sweet chin music to tie the score. After that was John Cena, also freshly drafted to Raw along with Angle, defending his WWE title against Christian and Chris Jericho in a lively triple threat match. And finally, Batista put a definitive end to his series series with Triple H inside Hell in a Cell. The Animal got his third straight pay-per-view victory over the game in what was a vicious and dramatic match. The supporting card wasn't bad either, with Edge vs Kane, Carlito vs Shelton Benjamin for the IC title, and even Victoria vs Christy Hemme all playing their part in making the show an easy watch. Number 6, TLC 2009. A sleeper show coming in the WWE dead zone that is December, TLC 2009 had some very good, star-heavy matches and major happenings. It kicked off in exemplary fashion as Christian retained his ECW title against Shelton Benjamin in a thrilling ladder match. Captain Charisma and the Gold Standard are both experts of the genre and lived up to their promise here. The Intercontinental title match between John Morrison and Drew McIntyre didn't have much of a story going into it, but the work was customarily good. Michelle McCool and Mickie James did have a story to work with in their Divas title bout, and they turned in a fine match that thankfully wasn't programmed as the cool-down match as the women often were in this era. Sheamus then upset John Cena in a tables match to win his first WWE title. They would have better matches down the road, but this wasn't too bad at all, and the shock title change certainly got people talking. The Undertaker and Batista were well acquainted by this point and had no problems clattering one another in their high-impact chairs match. Kofi Kingston's big singles match with Randy Orton was disappointing and ended in defeat for him, but it also showed that he could hang at the Viper's level even if he was stupid. And in the main event, DX downed Jericho in a hectic TLC match strewn with big bumps. Number 5, Backlash 2007. No simple WrestleMania 23 retread, Backlash 2007 featured only 2 direct rematches while presenting fresh rivalries and progressing old ones. It began with the Hardys defending their World Tag Team titles against Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch in a good competitive clash of styles. Melina then retained her women's title against Mickie James in a really good match that was thankfully given the time to develop. These two always had chemistry with one another. Chris Benoit then retained his US Championship over MVP in an engrossing rookie versus master tussle. Mr. McMahon then teamed with Umaga and son Shane to thwart Bobby Lashley and become ECW champion. Really, match quality is irrelevant here because the lols of Vince winning the belt totally overshadows it. As it was an entertaining and well-worked match. Match of the night honors went to Batista and The Undertaker, who followed up their cracking Mania match with a tremendous last man standing affair. Just a knockdown, drag-out hoss fight between 2 big bulls. The finish, though inconclusive, was spectacular. And in the main event, John Cena overcame the odds, obviously, and managed to get past Shawn Michaels, Edge and Randy Orton in an intricate and action-packed 4-way. Number 4, No Mercy 2001. One of the few good things about the invasion was that the pay-per-views from that time were all worth a watch. Best of the bunch was No Mercy, which featured a Chris Jericho match and performance that must have went some way to convincing Vince McMahon to make him the first ever undisputed champion just a couple of months later. In it, he beat The Rock in an almost 25-minute thriller to capture the WCW World title. Though hard to follow, Steve Austin was up to the task, defending his WWE title in a unique triple threat match against Kurt Angle and RVD. Another stellar outing was provided by Edge regaining the Intercontinental title in a ladder match with kayfabe brother Christian. As for the rest, Test vs Kane and The Undertaker vs Booker T were both watchable, as too was the Dudleys defending the WWE tag titles against the endearingly odd team of Big Show and Tajiri. The Hardy Boys vs Lance Storm and the Hurricane opener was a suitable way to warm up, and, well, the lingerie match between Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson is sure to satisfy some of you filthy buggers. I, on the other hand, watched it for the articles. Number 3, Vengeance 2003. The first US-based SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view of the initial brand split era, Vengeance ably demonstrated how full of quality the supposed B-show was back then. Benoit vs Guerrero in a US title tournament final is a stellar way to open, I'm sure you'll agree, and the longtime frenemies who were incapable of having a truly bad match set the tone early on. Jamie Noble's victory over Billy Gunn, giving the Redneck a night with Tori Wilson, and the APA Barroom Invitational weren't exactly high quality, but they were fun. But but match number 4 really picked up the pace. The world's greatest tag team looked just that as they defended the straps against Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman in a barn burner. No barns were burned during Sable and Stephanie McMahon's showdown, but it wasn't bad and I enjoyed it, particularly for the articles. Much better was The Undertaker's first high-profile outing with John Cena, who put in a big performance in a big situation. They'll call him Big Match John one day, I'm telling you. Mr. McMahon suffered for the cause in his shockingly good match with Zach Gowen before Kurt Angle regained the WWE title in a wild and woolly triple threat with Brock Lesnar and The Big Show. Number 2, No Mercy 2008. A show that, in a weird way, overachieved considerably. No Mercy 2008 was one of the better pay-per-views from what was a stellar year for WWE. In the main event, Chris Jericho retained his World Heavyweight title over Shawn Michaels in a bruising ladder match that, for all intents and purposes, put their long and personal feud to bed. In another top title match, Triple H retained his WWE title over Jeff Hardy in a slow builder that really picked up towards the end and had fans biting on every false finish. The Big Show scored a thunderous victory over The Undertaker, punching him out to win via TKO. Both men were motivated and had one of their best matches together here. Everything else was worthwhile too, from Rey Mysterio's mask match win against Kane to Matt Hardy defending the ECW title against Mark Henry in a pair of well-done David vs. Goliath style matches. Candice Michelle put in the effort before falling to women's champion Beth Phoenix, and Batista mowed over JBL to become #1 contender to the World Heavyweight title. As well he should. Number 1, Unforgiven 2006. A supposed B-show that was loaded up like WrestleMania, Unforgiven 2006 had star power, gimmicks, great wrestling, and genuine emotion. In the main event, John Cena reclaimed the WWE title by beating hometown hero Edge in a full-on TLC match, which also had the stipulation that Cena would have to go back to SmackDown should he lose. D-Generation X finally put their feud with the McMahons to bed by dismantling Vince, Shane, and The Big Show in a chaotic handicap Hell in a Cell war that ended, as all wars do, with a billionaire getting his face shoved into a giant's backside. And Trish Stratus was given the storybook ending to her full-time WWE career, beating Lita to win the women's title with the sharpshooter in front of the Toronto faithful. The best of the rest includes Jeff Hardy and Johnny Nitro having a long back-and-forth IC title match, Randy Orton and Carlito colliding, Kane and Umaga having a meeting of the monsters, and a tag title match between some male cheerleaders and Scottish simpletons.